UFC 313 is in a couple of weeks. Alex Pereira will be taking on Magomed Ankalaev, and a lot of people have been anticipating this fight for a long time. This is a great fight for Alex Pereira. For some reason, a lot of people feel like Alex Pereira, his title reign or his status as a champion isn't complete until he fights Magomed Ankalaev, because he's this dark horse, this supposedly great wrestler that is the kryptonite to Alex Pereira, which y'all know what my stance is. I love Alex Pereira. I think Ankalaev really isn't a great wrestler, and he doesn't even wrestle that much. He's a kickboxer. But we're going to go over Daniel Cormier talking about his concerns about Alex Pereira meeting up with Drake, being in Australia. We're going to go over DC and Chael talking about this area, and then Alex Pereira's response and the betting odds for this fight. So, Alex Pereira's in Australia. He meets up with Drake. You know what I'm saying, boy? Certified lover boy, certified pedophile. Yeah. Yeah, so Alex Pereira, Shama, meets up with Drake. Shama. Alex Pereira is in Australia meeting up with Drake, and Daniel Cormier says this dude Pereira was seen in Australia last week still, and he was shaking the hand of Drake as Drake went on stage for his concert. He needs to get home and make sure he's locked in, because he does have the hardest fight of his title reign to this point, which is very true of DC to say. It is very true that Magomed Ankalaev is probably the hardest fighter in the light heavyweight division that Alex Pereira has fought or will fight, right? But however, DC loves the Dagestanis, he loves the wrestlers, and it doesn't matter if there's two strikers. If one person just has a little bit of wrestling, he'll favor them 9 times out of 10. It doesn't matter who the other striker is. He just loves to nutbag on these wrestlers. I don't get it. But this is DC and Chael talking about Alex Pereira.
And now my concern level is even higher. This dude was seen in Australia last week still, and he was shaking the hand of Drake as Drake went on stage for his concert. One, Drake constantly loses millions of dollars betting on people, so you kind of don't want Drake to bet on you because he doesn't have the greatest track record for winning.
First off, yeah, Drake doesn't have he knows nothing about MMA. He just picks a fighter that's famous or has some cool antics, and he's like, I want them to win. I'm going to put $500,000 on them. Do we really think Drake watches MMA at all? Do we actually have this idea that he watches any sports or anything enough to have the knowledge of it, to be like, oh, I'm betting on this guy because he's a great wrestler, he has this? No, he's just like, oh, Izzy is my dog, I'm going to bet on Izzy to beat fucking Dricus du Plessis or whatever the case is. That's how it is 90% of the time. Also, DC is concerned about Alex Pereira being in Australia. At UFC 303, when Alex Pereira knocked out Yuri Prochazka, which was a short notice fight, he was in Australia doing his press tour after he knocked out Jamal Hill after UFC 300. So, yes, Alex Pereira being in Australia is a little bit of a concern, but it's also dude, he has so much experience and time put in this game. He can have some off days. He can train in the day and then be free at night. It's not like he's this young, hungry contender who has to only focus on MMA or whatever the case is. He's so experienced and has so much time in. It's not that big of a deal. Magomed Ankalaev is just another guy. He's just another fighter, right? And also, if we had to compare the two, it is much harder fighting someone on short notice like a Yuri Prochazka at UFC 303 on short notice than it is fighting someone on full camp like a Magomed Ankalaev. It's harder for Alex Pereira to fight Yuri Prohaska on short notice, trying to get the weight down, trying to stay healthy, trying to recover his, broken bones or whatever the case is, and mentally prepare for Yuri on a 2-week notice than it is having 2-3 months preparing for Magomed Ankalaev.
But what is Pereira still doing in Australia, Chael? He fights in 2 weeks.
It's concerning to me. I mean, the whole thing is very concerning. One of the reasons I love Stipe as a fireman is Stipe was able to lock down. The UFC and everybody else respected that schedule so much that he slept in the same bed most nights. He was eating the same food, training with the same people, having the same coaches. It's tough on the road. You can get that training session in, but it usually involves a treadmill at the hotel lobby. Maybe you and your coach clear a little bit of space, even in your room, you do a mitt workout. It's not the same. That training is not the same. Meanwhile, you got Ankalaev is doing no media, no tours, and he's locked down in the Caucasus regions in the mountains. I think that it's relevant. I think that Pereira, listen, he's a 2-1 underdog. Talking about Pereira, he's a 2-1 underdog.
And his
things like aren't getting.
Okay, Chael's just yapping right now. First off, he's not a 2-1 underdog. Alex Pereira is the favorite, a -120. Magomed Ankalaev a +100. It is close. It's a pick 'em, but no. Also, I've talked to multiple pro fighters before, and it's also just, it's out there. You can just ask fighters. You can watch their embeddeds in camps almost all the time. If this is an 8-week or a 12-week camp, the first 8 to 10 weeks, right? First 8 or 10 weeks is like serious training, film, and all that stuff. The last 2 weeks is just cut down weight, right? And I'm not saying that they don't train and still prep and spar a week or two before the fights, but they typically don't. The last 2 weeks or the 1 or 2 weeks leading up to the fight, it's just about getting that weight down and mentally preparing. That's all that is. It's not like, oh, Alex Pereira's got to add a couple more takedowns or skills 2 weeks before the fight happens because it's going to matter. Like, no, whatever Alex Pereira knew 8 weeks ago, that's what mattered. That's what he was working on. There's nothing that Alex Pereira can learn in the next 2 weeks or he can do that's going to change the outcome of the fight that much, right? It's just not going to happen. About a week or two leading up to the fight, which is about this time, is just about weight cutting. That's all it is. It's not like Alex Pereira is going to be learning a new grappling takedown or submission attempt or defense tomorrow, 2 weeks before the fight. Like, that's not going to happen, right? And that's the one thing that I feel like DC and Chael, they know they are former fighters, but they don't want to discuss it. They want to make this a big deal and overreact and be like, oh my God, Alex Pereira, he's in Australia, like Magomed Ankalaev, while he's not doing press conferences, he's not doing tours. He's training hard while Alex Pereira is meeting up with Drake. Like, bro, first off, when has Magomed Ankalaev ever gone out in public and seen people or the sun? You know what I mean? He's pale. So, come on.
Change that.
He's the dog in this fight, Pereira is?
Underdog.
Wow.
There is no mythical opponent they've ever put Pereira against, including times where they matched him up at heavyweight. Even a mythical line. The only one that exists is where Pereira is the underdog is Ankalaev, and it's 2-1.
That's a big...
It's not 2-1. Just to repeat, it is -120 Alex Pereira.
It's a big one. And Ankalaev is already here. He's in Vegas. I ran into him at the PI last week. And he is honestly so locked in, ready to win this fight against Alex Pereira. But Chael, he started as an underdog, but now it's even. So the public has bet him to even, Chael. But the people, the odds makers, the people that set the lines, set it in Ankalaev's favor, like you said. But the world they can't see Pereira losing because they're so enamored with him. But
is it that? Is it the fact that people just can't see Alex Pereira losing? Or is it the fact that people look at Magomed Ankalaev and say, who have you beaten? Who have you beaten that is on the same level as Alex Pereira? Your best win is Alexander Rakic, and you went to a terrible decision with him? You couldn't finish Alexander Rakic? But supposedly, he's the best wrestler. He's the only guy that can beat Alex Pereira. What are we talking about? No, I gotta look at the beginning odds. I should have done that for this video. But it's not like people are betting on Alex Pereira because they just can't see Pereira losing. Maybe some people, right? Out of 100 people, let's just be fair. Let's say 50% of the people say, I just can't see Alex Pereira losing, right? It's Alex Pereira. He won't lose. The other 50% are probably looking at the people at Magomed Ankalaev and thinking, well, Magomed Ankalaev went to a draw with Jan Blachowicz, and it took him until the 4th round to implement takedowns. That's not good. You went to a draw with a 50-year-old Polish man? No hate on Jan Blachowicz. I love that man. But you went to a draw with him. Oh, you fought Johnny Walker, and you finished him. Great win. Oh, you finished Anthony Smith, the man who's ranked 14th in the division. It's not like Jamal Hill or Khalil Roundtree or Yuri Prohaska twice, like knocking these people out. Like he has like the people that Magomed Ankalaev is finishing are old fighters, or they're just like crazy Tony Ferguson-esque fighters, right? Johnny Walker is Tony Ferguson, pretty much, right? Like,
I got back from Australia, and all last week, Joe, I'm up at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I don't care that Pereira's got weeks to get ready. He's going to be ready. He's going to be prepared. But even those 2 to 3 extra days, Joe, where he's adjusting his clock to get back on schedule in Connecticut, then once he's done in Connecticut, to fly to Vegas, right, the week of the fight, get adjusted to 2 more hours. He's going to have to deal with all that travel.
DC is acting like Alex Pereira is going to show up to UFC 313 like the day or two before the fight. Like, bro, relax.
And all that difference in time. And where's Glover? Is Glover just in Australia with him? Is it just him and Plinio? Because we know that Plinio Cruz.
What is up with this camera, by the way, on Daniel Cormier? How do you work for ESPN?
Has been a massive,
and your camera's moving this
massive tool for Alex Pereira. But so has Glover Teixeira. Glover Teixeira has kids. Glover Teixeira is the guy, honestly, that should be doing the most work with Alex right now because of the wrestling. Plinio's a great grappler, right? Plinio needs to be overseeing Glover just shooting on Pereira, because I don't care what Ankalaev says, Chael. He has to be smarter than to go out there and try to just stand with Pereira for 25 minutes.
Which, that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen, let's be honest. Magomed Ankalaev is going to try and strike with Alex Pereira. He's going to lose on the feet. He's going to attempt some grappling and then probably get knocked out in that exchange. It's not like Magomed Ankalaev is a Khabib or Daniel Cormier or Bilal Muhammad or Merab, where they're a pressure wrestler or a chain wrestler. Like, he's not like that. He does not wrestle like that. Anyway, this was Alex Pereira's response pretty much on Daniel Cormier. Alex Pereira, I'm prepping for Magomed Ankalaev. I'm training how I always train. Nothing has changed except that he's left-handed. On Ank's wrestling, Ankalaev's wrestling, I have a lot of experience with grappling as well. I'm not scared. I'm ready to go, which is very true. I mean, I don't think Alex Pereira should have gotten a black belt in BJJ after knocking out Yuri Prohaska. I thought that was a little crazy. Who gets a BJJ black belt after knocking out someone on the feet? But yeah, so that's the response, and here's the favorite, odds again. A -120 Alex Pereira, a +100 Magomed Ankalaev. This card is actually turning out to be pretty good. This is actually one of my fights that I'm like, dude, people got to watch this. Joshua Van is a dog. I think he's a great flyweight fighter. He's a tank of a person. And obviously my boy right here, Dan, the Hangman Hooker. I'm putting some money on him. Underdog, +130. I think he can beat Justin Gaethje. But yes, DC hating on Alex Pereira, of course, not thinking he's prepared. He's worried. I think this is just made up slander because there's nothing else to talk about this week in MMA. But that was this video. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. See y'all in the next video.